What's up guys, JV2017 here, continuing with more Fallout 4 DLC coverage, and this is the third and last in a series of videos covering Bethesda's DLC announcement, which means we're going to focus on the largest pack coming called Far Harbor. Before we begin, I've left a link to their announcement in the description below if you are interested in looking at that. On that announcement, Bethesda gave us some official information on the price points and the release date. So we've got $25 US or your regional equivalent for the standalone version of this DLC. That's the price. But of course, this DLC will be included if you buy the Season Pass. And quick reminder, the price for the Season Pass is still $30, but it will increase to $50 on March 1st, which is only 5 days away. So my advice to you is if you're confident in and plan on playing Fallout 4 and its DLC throughout 2016, it's probably a good idea right now if you have the money to go ahead and spend it to buy the Season Pass, because you'll be getting this and everything else with it. I also wanted to point out that at least in the US, the Season Pass is only $5 more than this standalone piece of DLC, which means in terms of content, if you're only confident in this piece, you only want to play Far Harbor, and you still want to get the Season Pass, you're only spending $5 more for Automatron, plus Wasteland Workshop, and any future DLC. In terms of a release date, we don't have a concrete day, but what we have is what you see. We have May 2016. And I think once the first two packs release, that's Automatron and Wasteland Workshop, we should get a better idea on when Far Harbor will release in the month of May. I wanted to take a quick look at this concept art. First off, it looks very, very cool. It gives us kind of a vibe of how this DLC is going to go out. We have the Soul Survivor and Dogmeat traveling to Far Harbor by boat. It looks very, very spooky. And it makes me think, because they're on a boat, that the way the player gets to Far Harbor in this DLC is very similar to Point Lookout. You hop on a boat, probably sit through a loading screen, and bam, you're there, you know? There's not much else really to point out from this piece of concept art other than it looks really spooky, like a Stephen King movie. That's really what this is reminding me of since it's been announced. And of course, along the top, it says, "Unravel the secrets and the mystery of Far Harbor." Very, very straight and to the point, or very, very vague and convoluted. Of course, there's some kind of underlying story that we're going to have to uncover, and we're about to talk more about that. For the rest of the video, we'll be looking at this screenshot because it's the only one we have of Far Harbor, and a few more pictures of the real-life location that this DLC is based on. Right now, let's read over the DLC description. A new case from Valentine's detective agency leads you on a search for a young woman and a secret colony of synths. Travel off the coast of Maine to the mysterious island of Far Harbor, where higher levels of radiation have created a more feral world. Navigate through the growing conflict between the synths, the children of Adam, and the local townspeople. Will you work towards bringing peace to Far Harbor, and at what cost? Far Harbor features the largest landmass for an add-on that we've ever created, filled with new faction quests, settlements, lethal creatures, and dungeons become more powerful with new higher-level armor and weapons. The choices are all yours. So, we've got plenty to talk about here. First off is Nick. Nick Valentine is going to be central to this story. Our trusty synth companion and his detective agency are probably going to play a primary role. And it sounds to me like a murder mystery, which is exactly what this detective is all about. You know, searching for a young woman, and also this secret colony of synths, which is an interesting thing. And Nick is a synth himself, we know. So he's going to add some kind of interesting, unique perspective on that. Something else to note is that Maine is not that far from Boston, but far enough to be out of the immediate reach of the Institute. So that, you know, obviously means, of course, it makes sense that a secret colony of synths could exist up here. And it'll be interesting to see what this colony of synths is about and what their motivations really are. They pretty much tell us exactly where this place is located, off the coast of Maine on a mysterious island. And shortly after the announcement, some people on Reddit pinpointed a real island off the coast of Maine with a town called Bar Harbor. Not the entire island, but a town called Bar Harbor. And that town right now is 63 square miles in area. That's how large it is, and has a current population of just over 5,000. So that gives you an idea. It's quite small comparatively speaking to like Boston, where there were a ton of people, you know, where the Commonwealth is, you know, that area. This is a lot smaller. Right here, I'm showing you guys a real map of Bar Harbor. This is what it looks like in real life, and it has several notable geographic features. First, this town is surrounded by this Arcadia National Park, all of that green. So we should expect lots of dead trees, of course, you know, because those trees have a hard time surviving in this nuclear wasteland, and a bunch of woods to explore. That's what I expect, at least from this. And there are several cliffs and high points around this island that will surely give us some cool vantage points and some interesting locations to visit throughout this DLC. And we also have the these 3 islands along the bottom of the screen you can see on the map, and an indicator that Boston is just 250 miles southwest of the island. So depending on where you're coming from, that's either really far away or quite close. I don't think it's that far away, but again, I think it is far away enough for this colony of synths to be there and be kind of safe and kind of out of the reach of the Institute. Here are a few more pictures of what Bar Harbor looks like in real life to give you guys exactly, what Bethesda was using for their inspiration. It's really interesting to look at these. I found these on an article. I'm going to link in the description below if you guys want to check that out. It also talked about, there's some biomedical labs in this area, so they may be included in this. Maybe that'll be like a site for, the colony of synths. We don't really know. And also, this is really a tourist kind of area, but that doesn't mean, we're not going to have some kind of mysterious mystery going on. Clearly we are with this missing woman and this colony of synths. So it's interesting to see exactly what Bethesda used to create this world, and it's modeled directly off of this place. Moving on, we have some more story. Higher levels of radiation have created a more feral world. And does this mean we'll see even more radiated versions of enemies we already have in the Commonwealth? I surely hope so. That would be really cool to see different variations of enemies we've already seen. And I've seen some people say it's a great opportunity to reintroduce, some crazy enemies like the Centaur, these gross abominations. That's one of the most horrific enemies I've seen in a Fallout game. I hated it every time I saw it because I was just like, get away from me. I want to see some more creepy, crazy, horrific abominations of creatures show up in this DLC. I think it's a great opportunity for that. We also had this conflict that will certainly be central to the story involving the secret colony of synths, the children of Adam, which is interesting because we don't really have a solid story on them, I feel like, in Fallout 4. They're just around, in highly irradiated areas, and also the townspeople of Bar Harbor, which we know nothing about right now. We don't really know if this conflict is over land, material resources, or some kind of outside threat to the area. I think it's more probably a threat or these people fighting with each other than, like resources or land. That would be kind of bland, I feel like. I guess it's really anyone's guess at this point. We don't really know what this is going to be about, the central conflict. We do know a girl is missing, so obviously that's going to be tied into it. And also, the description implies that we can bring peace to this area, but it will cost us. And I really hope they mean that, because I've felt that Fallout 4 so far has lacked some impactful, meaningful decisions. I want to, if this is possible, have a choice to completely exterminate the children of Adam on this island. I want to kill them all. I want to make some very meaningful decisions that actually impact the world instead of just, operate in this little vacuum and people just talk about it. The description goes on to mention a lot of quantitative characteristics of this DLC, numbers, what you're going to see, qualitative as well, I suppose. But this is the largest landmass that Bethesda has created for a DLC. That's out of any Bethesda game, which is pretty impressive considering the large areas that we could explore with Fallout 3's DLC and also Skyrim. So it's bigger than any of those, single pieces of DLC that they released for those games. And also they're going to have some faction quests in this new area, which is really great. That means our choices, hopefully in the, main game, matter even more than they did before. And it's interesting, I was thinking about this. This is probably not going to be like you complete the main story and it continues at Far Harbor. That's not how they've advertised it, so it doesn't feel like this is a Broken Steel type piece of DLC that continues the story. I would expect that we see some presence from all of the factions or some of the factions in this area. I don't expect Elder Maxon to swoop in. I could be wrong. I don't expect him to swoop in or Desdemona and Deacon to show up in a big way and be like, oh, this is a big, deal, Far Harbor, all this stuff. I don't really expect that, but I'd love to see the factions as the catalyst for this conflict in this area. That'd be cool if the Brotherhood of Steel was coming in here causing some, stirring some shit up or something, and that's the reason we're having this conflict. That would be really cool to tie that in. Of course, we've got some new settlements. Preston Garvey would die if we didn't have new settlements for him to send us to. I'm sure he's going to send us immediately when we start this new DLC. I surely hope not. That's really sarcastic. But it's nice to have new settlements purely for the reason that we can build in Far Harbor. We can actually build settlements in Far Harbor. That is pretty cool. We'll see how they actually handle that. And as for new creatures, I'm hoping we get a nice variety of strange and creepiness. Like I said, there's more radiation here. I want some creepy stuff to crawl up to us and try to kill us. I'd really like that. That's what I like about Fallout. And the environment certainly gives off that vibe, that strange and creepy vibe. So I would welcome a nice mix of returning abominations, kind of like the Centaur, as I mentioned, as well as some new ones. Bethesda also specifically mentions dungeons, which of course reminds me of Skyrim. I'm hoping that we'll have some meaningful cave diving, some creepy kind of, very secluded areas, maybe some psychedelic experiences like we had in Point Lookout. I'm very much looking forward to seeing something like that. And finally, we have new high-level armor and weapons, which is pretty much something we expect. Again, I hope we get a solid number of new items instead of just a small handful. Like, we got 2 new guns, man. I'd be very disappointed. I would be super disappointed. I hope we get a nice variety. And who knows, perhaps we'll see that harpoon gun that everyone's claiming belonged to an underwater DLC or something that was cut from the game. Maybe we'll have some kind of scuba mission in Far Harbor. I'm really excited to see what we have to do. I'd say overall, I'm expecting Bethesda to tell a meaningful story that will give me that classic Fallout feeling of, wow, this is truly how depraved and brutal humanity has, come to after the events of the Great War and all that. Fallout is a brutal, brutal world, and I'm totally expecting that. I'm expecting plenty of exploration, since it's their largest landmass, and a nice handful of side quests. And I'm hoping we'll get a new perk or 2 as well. They've done that in a nice way in the past. Maybe we could pick up a magazine that gives us a perk that actually makes sense in this area. That would be great too. I wasn't going to mention this, but I know a lot of people are probably going to comment and wonder, what the hell is that giant skeleton in the water? What is that? Is that a sea monster? Who knows? I really don't know what that could possibly be. I hope it is a ghoul whale, and I hope this is the introduction of ghoul whales. I've talked about this extensively on my Twitch streams. We need something scary in the water. Maybe it doesn't make sense with canon or lore, but I'll be damned if that is not a ghoul whale. So I'd like to hear from you guys. This DLC is the furthest away from the ones that have been announced, but what are your expectations for Far Harbor? Is this the pack you're most excited for? A lot of people will say yes. Some people say it's Automatron, maybe even Wasteland Workshop. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Alright guys, today we took a look at the upcoming Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4, and next time we will cover more Fallout on my channel, so stay tuned for Fallout 4 tips and tricks videos. If you learned something new or enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe for more DLC coverage, build guides, and general tips and tricks videos. Talk to you guys next time. Peace!